Ah, yes. Hell's minions are spewing forth from the portals that CERN has created. And tonight, we are here to deal with
Are you
them.
kidding?
Yes, and
That's the
baby.
road we're going down? Are you kidding? You just... Oh.
I CERNed it up early, and yes, we're here.
Look at you. You look like Hugh Hefner. I love it. Oh, you got the fireplace.
You liking the look, man? You liking the look?
This is great, Kev. I like it a lot.
I'm going
very refined.
I'm going for the more kind of refined pimp look. I think I'm kind of actually pulling it off here.
I think so. Well, I don't know about pimp. I'd say more just a refined. You make me want to have a snuff glass of cognac, and
I think Mr. Baker is taking a page from Mr. Everard's book. It looks like he's sitting in a chateau.
Yes, very much so.
Even I find myself slightly more believable looking like this, which is quite worrying.
Kev, does Anne make a good anchovy pate?
Listen, it's my day off, or the cravat would be on as well. Okay.
Oh, very nice.
I'm taking it easy. I'm chilling out.
Take it easy. We're dressed down a bit.
Garçon. I'm waiting for somebody to bring my drink through. But no, how are you all doing, folks? You see, when you go toe to toe with evil, Joe, I think it's best to give it a bit of class. You know, walk in like some classical vampire hunting dude. You know. Yep, that in itself, you know, it knocks the kind of vampire a bit. Whoa, never seen Kev like this before. You get me, Scott? Because right now in the UK, we're in the grip of something that I had no idea was going on. And yes, we're back to the times when the words satanic and panic went together. Because the story that we're going to open up with tonight, folks, it's a bit weird. It's a bit out of the ordinary. However, it opens up a plethora of links that I found today, and a new aspect of the UK police force that I had no idea about. And there's Joe posting his, is that your happy fun time emoji face? Is that that's it right there. And talking of emojis, yes, we have a new AOC emoji. I thought since I spruced myself up, I can spruce up AOC, yes. Very tired, clapping. Yes, that's my mum messaging there. She'll be saying, oh, you look absolutely wonderful. Wonderful.
Exactly, Kev. That's what I'm saying. If Pearl's okay with it, then that's something that you should go with. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying as well. So, folks, listen, before we get going, if you want to become a member of the channel, and we would love you to become a member here, all you got to do is click join down below or go to the channel page. 3 options, all of them open up tomorrow's member chat only stream on a Sunday. So please, please, please join us. You get all the emojis, or you can do a super chat or PayPal, and we're about ready to get into it. That's out the way. So
yes. And I just forwarded you another story, by the way, that fits exactly with this theme you have tonight. So, and it has to do with an exorcism at Fort Bragg. Believe it or not, they're making it into a movie.
Ah, well, you see, I found it a bit strange when I came across this story today, because in recent times we've talked a lot about Crowley's house, and I'm not going to bore people with that. However, you'll remember...
Bore people with that?
I go on about it a lot. Too much.
I guess, but I don't think so.
But one of the other things that came to light when I was up there, I wouldn't call it an investigation, but what happened was, we know... Way...
Oh, the 3 wise men who's got frankincense, ho ho ho.
Ho ho ho, that's a bit... Is Brian a bit quiet on your end?
Just a little bit.
I might need to try and rectify that. It would appear whatever STREAMLABS done in the last update has goosed all volume, so that's okay. But yeah, this story today, bit weird, because when I was up in Boleskine around Aleister Crowley's house, not once but twice, remember. One of the things that you could tell right away is that this isn't somewhere that's like not active right now. And I mean, there's occult groups that are going there, guys. And not only that, some of them are stupid enough to leave some of their like graffiti with dates, but there's occult symbols, you know, the ones, inverted pentagrams, some of Crowley's own writing, all that kind of stuff. So we've got some kind of, I would imagine, and I'm just speculating here, but up my way, some youngsters, maybe teenagers, goths, messing about with that kind of stuff. And I'm not judging them, but it's going on. I didn't really think it was that prevalent. And then I found a story in The Sun, not the biggest fan of The Sun, but the devil in the detail. Fears of a satanic cult on the loose after animals are tortured and killed, and bizarre symbols are daubed on a church. So there's a picture of one of the poor sheep there. Keep scrolling down. I'll read a bit in a minute, but you see some more of it here yet. You've got that on the sheep as well. And then this church. Somebody loving the jacket, Queen Goddess. Yes, indeed. I'm scared to look at the chat to see what you're saying about the jacket, but so this is on the church door. They've had to scrub.
Love your jacket, Kev.
Much love to you. 666 on the door. And what's happening, guys, is this has led to some big investigation that's kicking off in the UK now. So I'll give you the kind of bare facts here, and then we'll take a look at this investigation, because this in itself, and I'm sure somebody like Lothar is going to love all of this, that really opened my eyes to the UK police and aspects of it that I had no idea about. So it says a pagan police force has been called in after animals were found knifed to death and daubed with pentagrams, sparking fears over occult worship in Bramshaw, Hampshire. Now, in recent weeks, a series of bizarre discoveries have been made in the New Forest, including 2 dead sheep and pentagrams sprayed on them, a cow stabbed in the neck, and a defaced church with the graffiti reading 666. And I think we need a thunderstorm on for this, boys, you know. Yes, indeed. There we go. A ewe was found dead after suffering a puncture wound on its side on November 19th on Penn Common Road in Bramshaw, leading many to think the incident or link the incident to witchcraft. Now, owners Colin Barnes, 76, and Heather Miles, 68, found the sheep with a pentagram painted on its side, a star on its face, as well as an inverted cross and a number 666. So Heather told the Mail, "I don't know anything about witchcraft or devil worship. It was only later, when I started thinking about the weird markings, that I became suspicious. Now I reckon it might not have been coincidence that it happened on the night of a full moon. Those witches like that, don't they? The sick." Yes, indeed.
Witches.
Yeah, good time for a crack of lightning there. So, a Hampshire police spokesman said that the cow and the 2 calves have also been found with wounds in the Bramshaw and Linwood areas. And on November 20th, graffiti of an inverted cross, phallic symbols, and the number 666 was found on the local church. Now, David Bacon, the vicar of St. Peter's Church in Bramshaw, said the church door has been cleaned and needed redecorating, but that's just a pain. The attacks on the animals have left the people quite disturbed and scared, and particularly people who have animals in the forest. Now, we have had a very, very minor incidents in the past, little bits of graffiti. Doesn't happen often, nothing like this. And I thought initially it was kids playing a joke, but animals being harmed takes it to a whole new league. I think you have to assume this is part of something ritualistic. So what do you think, guys? What do you think so far, before we get to the bit that leads us into the next part of this kind of weirdness that's going on?
I think it is. I think there is a ritualistic component to it. I don't know to what extent. It's kind of hard to say whether it's an isolated thing or whether or not. I don't know. I think it's kind of too early to tell. If you want my complete honesty.
Absolutely. Somebody's after some Barry White music. Joe was wanting violins to play me in.
Some Barry White music with your jacket.
That'd be good too.
I actually got a good air. You like that air violin, dude? Quite a good one.
Yeah, but let me tell you something, brother. That is now what? 3 compliments about your jacket?
Yeah. Big shout out to the
I think you know. I think you have your answer, Mr. Baker.
Are we going for the full jacket? Look, Scott's sitting there thinking, I'm going to piss myself laughing in a minute. If he keeps that jacket on, I'm out of here. You're just going to see Scott rolling off the screen, man. But I'm gone. Big shout out to Brent Thomas. I got your Skype message, brother. I am good. We're well. Good to see you here. And I urge everyone check out Brent's channel. So much live content. So much woo. And we've got a bit of woo here as well, Scotty, right? And it could be a little bit more serious than our average woo when you've got animals and things like this affected this way. But what do you make of it, Scott? Is it real, like witches and wizards? Is there a problem? Is there a magic circle down there that we need to be aware of? Or just teenagers?
I think these are wannabes that are trying to go out there and do something.
Sounds like more shock value, like a shock value to it, right?
Yeah, I think these are just kind of. Yeah, it's a shock value thing, and I think it's just I don't know, maybe some teenagers or some young adults that are out there thinking that, we're going to go out here and do something on a full moon and sacrifice some animals and, oh yeah, Satan's cool, and woo, yeah. But I don't think this is like your super, super, super hardcore Satanists. Because when they go out and do their rituals, they make sure that stuff is very secret, that nobody really knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. So the fact that this was done in such a shocking thing, to me just suggests that it's a bunch of people who want to, get some attention, and they really don't understand what they're truly like dabbling in. They just know, oh cool, let's put 666 on something, let's draw some inverted some inverted crosses and pentagrams and woo, but that's what I think is going on. I mean, regardless though, I mean it's disturbing because you got people out there killing animals, and
usually we're talking about potential aliens doing things to animals, Scott. Unfortunately, like I said in the title, hell's empty. The devils are already here, and we're going to build on that picture as we go on, but there's something really interesting comes up in this story, and I find it weird. I find it a bit out there. But then when you take it, let's get back to this bit, and I'll get to the bit I'm meaning, okay? It says here, he added, we know what the devil is like by the things you see done in his name. And if that's sticking knives into sheep, it's the work of somebody who seeks to follow him or it. Now, the New Forest has always been a place where where there's witchcraft, it still goes on today, but the White Witches, as they call themselves, will be appalled by this as anyone else. And I agree with that. I really do. And Tia Bell, who I've had on the show, I can guarantee, she's going to be sitting there if she hears about animals.
They wouldn't be in on that. No.
But this is where it gets interesting, right? Officers from the Police Pagan Association have launched their own investigation amidst the growing fears in the area. So Sergeant Andy Party, part of the association, said that the pentagram is a very emotive symbol and it always creates a furore. However, it does not necessarily mean it's connected to pagans. And Tony Hockley, chairman of the Commoners Defence Association, which represents those who keep animals in the forest, said any harm to the commoners' animals is a huge concern. Well, there's something there I'd never heard of. The Police Pagan Association. Yeah. This didn't come as much of a shock to you that we have this, Joe. Is this common?
No, not really, because it's part of that touchy-feely, kinder, gentler culture that we have, where you have these groups now within organizations or big corporations or even municipalities or even the federal government here in the United States, they said, well, we got a racial problem in Congress. So they create the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, all these different caucuses to, all these little insider groups that focus on racial issues. Even like at big companies like DuPont. DuPont has a organization within it called Be Glad, which has to do with representing LGBTQ people. And it's a group within DuPont of these employees that advocate for rights of those kind of people. And so that these kind of groups are not quite uncommon. That's why when I saw that, it doesn't quite strike me as uncommon that there might be a association of pagan police officers, that when these kind of crimes come up, in order to avoid any stigmas associated with their beliefs, they will go and investigate these crimes, probably voluntarily or on their off time or something, to kind of help out or whatever, to kind of make and also advocate for public awareness of what it means to, really be a witch or whatever it is. Because you'll come to find out that a lot of these witches, they would never do that kind of stuff. They respect the animal spirit, all of that. And it just is out of character for that kind of sloppiness, if you will.
Surprise you, Scott, that we've got something like that over here?
No, it really doesn't surprise me either. I'm with Joe on this. It's just like any other kind of group or somebody that would kind of get together and form some kind of fraternal order, right? Maybe a group of police that are all pagans, that follow that route would join together and kind of form some kind of a fraternity or something within the police force. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could just hire Jedis to join the police force? People that follow there are people that follow the Star Wars religion. I remember we had a police officer here in Glasgow, lady it was, and it was a shame because the paper, the press, the Daily Record, they made such a fool out of her. They had her taking pictures, holding a torch like it was a lightsaber, but they obviously told her it was going to look entirely different than what they made it look, Scott. But yeah, just when you said there, if we could have all Jedis or all people that follow the Jedi, then literally they would be the Force. Quite literally, right? But they've got a website. Yeah. Yes, they've got a website, Scotty. Here we go. We'll take a little look, right, at what they've got to say. Let's see it here. There we go. Yes, the National Police Chiefs Council, the Police Pagan Association. So it's not much to say here. It says the Police Pagan Association is very proud to introduce our latest first point of contact, P.S. Graham Little of the British Transport Police. Although relatively new to paganism, so you're right, Scott. It is people that identify or follow paganism. But then it gets a little bit weird, right? Because that's cool. I've got nothing against pagans. I've had Tia on my show to talk about it. Go to the source. Get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But they've got a Twitter feed as well, Scott, right? And this is where it starts to get a little bit almost woke, dare I say it, right? So you've got the pagan police up here. You start to come down, so it says the pagan police, PPA, has published an official press release about the cattle mutilation in the New Forest. So they're talking about what's going on there. It says it's refreshing to see most of the media reports identifying such cruelty as satanic or occultist rather than pagan. So really, as long as the semantics are right on this and you're not picking on pagans, you can pick on occultists or Satanists all you want, right? But then it starts... But wait, Scott, we scroll down further, right? police pagan, a diverse panel taking questions about police in 20... Oh, burning witches? We can't do that, can we? Oh, no, I know a witch or two. We have to... There's various classes of witches. So, yeah, it says a panel taking questions about policing 20 years on from the McPherson report. It is clear that whilst progress has been made, there is still much work to do. So it's all about diversity, equality, and inclusion. And then we keep coming down again, and it says one thing that could... That's the wrong one. That wasn't the one I was going for. Some fantastic insights and observations from Asif Sadiq today with a slide particularly relevant to the pagan perspective on policing. Now, you can't quite see in there, but if you keep coming down their actual Twitter feed here, it's all about diversity, equality, and inclusion. It feels to me, Scott, like it's almost the creation of this group and some others like it. I wouldn't call it virtue signaling, but very politically correct. Good to have all of these separate groups. They're more interested in having separate groups represented than actually representing the people that the groups are made up of, if that makes sense.
But is this also all just part of them having to enforce what British law and just the general way that they're expected to act, beings that the UK in general in politics and the way it's run is woke, right?
And that's my point. And while they're busy tripping over themselves with their pie charts and making sure everyone's included and everything's diverse, there's people getting stabbed to death on the streets of the UK. We're not talking about sheep getting daubed in paint. We're talking about people can't even take their kids to Frozen. Disney
kind
film.
Of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, Joe, it's far more important to be politically correct, have all of these groups represented, go and chase people up for thinking about calling somebody the wrong pronoun. But when it comes to actual policing, that word that Scott said there, policing, I see very little of it being done, to be honest with you.
Well, here's to be honest with you. Let me just say this, Scotty. People don't understand those in these positions of authority and legislators in a position to write and enact law. They're so disconnected that they don't understand that these people that do this don't and are not politically correct and don't follow politically correct rules and regulations and things like that, and they'll always get around it. So while we may say, well, this is stupid, but we respect the law, these people don't, and they don't care. And it's all diversification and embracing our differences.
What does that even mean, including neurodiversity as an example?
Neurodiversity?
What our brains are different? What? I have no idea.
What does that mean?
Who knows? But it's one of those buzzwords that I bet heaps of people liked it and retweeted it, but no, obviously not. Oh dear. They've only got 254 followers. Obviously,
that must be the one for every member of the. So it's probably one for every member today. Who could? That's a tough one, dude. I'll be honest with you.
I really don't think this has anything to do with them being pagan. I just think this has to do with the kind of things that they're told to push from up top, right?
Yeah, right.
I think every sort of police fraternity or police group.
You're right, Scott. There you go. Read that one out.
A representative workforce is not enough. We must have policies and practices which allow diverse voices to be heard. Wise words from Dr. Peter Langmead Jones, and particularly relevant to the issues faced by prospective pagan applicants. Very interesting.
A representative. It's all gobbledygook. And like you say, it's more to be ticking the boxes, to be representing this, that, and the other, as opposed to anything practical to do with policing the country.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But I think you find posts like this being posted by like lots of police forces within the UK, not just them. That's what I'm saying. Is that it's a general. There's a general wokeness to everything that is being done in the UK.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Exactly. This isn't one force. This is like the whole of the UK, one group out of the whole UK, and there's going to be 100 other groups like this. There'll be ones for the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, the Q's.
Exactly.
There'll be ones for the three people that identify
and then
as...
What? And then what? Because, see, this is how the division gets fomented, is now you've got divide and conquer. So you have all these people, and they all are fighting for their own interests. And eventually that they start playing against one another. And then that... And then that gets toxic in the workplace, and then it crumbles. And that's it. Look at it; it's a microcosm of the overall or overarching societal principles that are being pushed on everybody.
My point exactly. The devil's in the details. The king of division, divide and conquer. Have everyone fighting, and like I say, you know, hell's empty. They're all around us, and I'm not saying that the pagan police force are imps or demonic entities, but everything here, like Joe just said, this is like the microcosm of the macro going on out there. All of that division. And then to take it further on the satanic kind of weird kind of vibe, that led to this story today. This one here says 200 Catholics pray the rosary outside a brewery where Satanists held a black mass. So it says, Houston, Texas, November 26th, 2019. Catholics prayed the rosary outside a brewery in Houston on Sunday, while Satanists held a sacrilegious black mass inside. Catholic blogger Chris Walker told LifeSite News that approximately 200 Catholics, including at least one priest, prayed the rosary outside the craft brewery, indeed, in the late afternoon, while a smaller group stayed on to midnight to make reparation and pray as the Black Mass took place. Now, the Catholics came from at least 5 parishes and the Houston metro area and the American Society for the Defense of Tradition, Family and Property. The 50 tickets to the Black Mass were sold out on Friday. Organizers of the event promised that the Satanic Temple of Houston would hold its first public ritual in the region. Now, Brash Brewery, where the event was hosted, was kicking off the release of its Black Masses beer. The Black Mass reportedly marked the end of an animal welfare campaign by the Houston Satanists. Now, the Black Mass is a blasphemous mockery of Catholic liturgy and typically involves the desecration of a consecrated host, which the Church teaches is the literal body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. You know, maybe sort your own shit out, Vatican, before you start going after others. I'm just saying, Houston area resident...
How do you really feel about that, yeah?
I'm just pointing out the obvious. Sort your own shit out, you know? Then you can go and cast your judgment that you're not meant to do if you read the Bible carefully. Not that I even have. It's a given. You don't judge people. But hey, it's the Vatican here. Everything's back to front, Joe, right? So, Houston area resident Karen Poms told LifeSite News that upon arriving at the scene, she and others observed a man dressed in black was riding a horse along the median, dividing the street between the Rosary Group and the Brash Brewery. The rider waved a large black banner as he rode along the median until police arrived. That's a bit sinister, is it not? He then retreated to an alley near the brewery. Poms said that she later saw a woman and child emerge from the brewery while adults dressed in black shouted, "Hail Satan," and other epithets. Those present at the rally recited the prayer to St. Michael, which Pope Leo XIII called Catholics to pray after Mass. And the prayer begs the archangel to defend Christians from the wickedness and snares of the Vatican, I mean the devil, and to thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits. So yes, that's a bit weird, right? Middle of Texas, dude bimbling down the street in a horse, dressed in black, black flag. Bit weird.
Doesn't surprise me.
I know Texas is mad, but is Houston that mad?
Oh, Texas is losing their effing minds, man. Austin, Dallas, all of those hubs. You've got a lot of people flooding into those areas and totally changing the makeup of it and also the culture. It's becoming melting pots, and when you get melting pots like that, it becomes quite a hotbed for just craziness, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I mean, at this point, Austin is pretty much, it's almost like San Francisco as far as how liberal it's become in Austin, Texas. And I mean, you just see that in general with any large metropolitan area around the country. It's going to be a lot different than the rural outlying areas of that state. And so while Texas may be a red state and considered generally conservative, those large metropolitan areas are much different, much different. So yeah, Joe's right. Areas like Dallas, Houston, Austin, those are completely different than, those areas. Just they're ran completely differently than the rest of Texas. And so yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you would see this happening down there in Houston.
And it goes on to say, the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament was offered at the Regina Parish of Houston. Go further down. Some defenders of the Satanists claim that their black masses and other events, such as erecting statues of Baphomet, we've covered that before many times, the goat-headed false deity adored by adherents of occult groups in public spaces are merely satirical. Now, I don't think they're being satirical when they're putting up their statues. And I mean, I don't think they have to lie about it, to be honest with you. If they want to put their statues up, listen, people are going to get triggered. I get that. But it's not satirical, guys, their statues. Wouldn't you agree?
No, they're putting it up for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, in America, it's free to practice your religion, no matter how much it triggers anyone. Why can't they be honest about that? But it goes on to say here that the Satanic Temple of Houston proclaimed on Facebook. Anyone else just posts on Facebook, but if you're like a religious group, you can proclaim on there. Did you see my latest... Scott, did you see my latest proclamation that I made earlier on? I need the jacket for the proclamating.
Yes, I proclaim on the altar of Zuck that
on the altar of the Facebook feed. So they've got, it says here, the consecrated host was defiled, destroyed, and swept into the trash where it belongs. You see, now that's just bloody wrong. They wonder why. And again, people will say, well, they're doing that because they're trolling the Christian groups and things. Well, no, I don't know. Then it goes on to say the Catholics and their fatty mama Mary did not stop our black mass. The consecrated host was, like I said, there. And thank you, Rash Brewery Company, for hosting this wonderful event. Public and baptism early 2020, y'all. Hail Satan. From the Satanic Temple, yeah.
Wow.
And it goes on to say one of them, John Ritchie, a spokesman for the TFP. What's TFP?
TFP.
That's the traditional family people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was actually somebody. Well, he says via email that the Black Mass is a direct, deliberate, and sinful act of hatred against God. Far from being satirical, Satanism is about spiritual destruction, falsehood, and darkness. No amount of positive spin can change that reality. There you go.
See, the problem that I have though is all these people that judge those Satanists are just the pot that calls the kettle black. They are ones that participate and partake in pagan rituals, no different than Satanists. That
Joe, it's the same as the virtue signalers that I have a go at. Yeah,
they act exactly right. Exactly right. So to me, it's I get pissed off when I see people like, it doesn't matter who, anybody that celebrates Christmas, that celebrates Easter, that celebrates the pagan rituals that are not of or in any way, shape, or form outlined in the Bible, except to tell you not to do it. Those are the ones that I really have a problem with when they start telling the Satanists, hey, how dare you? That's blasphemous to God. Well, wait a minute. What are you doing? Well, Jesus is the reason for the season. No, that's not how it works. So you have just, if anything, you have to respect the Satanists because at least they're out in the open about it and they're being honest about it and they're not trying to tell you that Jesus is the reason for what they're doing. No, it's funny how it works.
It's kind of like the virtue signalers, all of them on there acting all virtuous and they've got the moral high ground. But if you were to follow,
selective paganism.
If you were to follow them about, not even for 24 hours, I bet most of them, at some point in their lives, their day-to-day lives, they're absolutely participating in the very system and things that they're absolutely pretending to rebel against. It's crazy. It truly is. But one last story on this kind of theme that I thought might trigger you boys. Everyone sees me triggered every bloody week, but you guys are kind of hard to knock out your comfort zone. But you like your music, you hate my music. And then I went searching for satanic headlines, and this came up. Yes, indeed, Scotty's face already. This comes from Kerrang. Now, I believe that's quite a popular rock kind of website, right? Right, so, yeah.
Kerrang's a big metal zine.
Well, Scott,
is Kerrang like a German publication or something?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say it sounds because Germans are ultra uber heavy metal.
Well, you see, Scott's been trying to convince me in recent times. He was telling me all about the Norwegian rock scene and things like this. And
unbelievable!
Yeah, but he's been trying to convince me that there's absolutely nothing satanic about it. Billie Eilish, who was sitting watching.
I didn't say there was nothing.
I was going to say.
I never said.
Come on, Scott. Give me my shtick. Come on, man. Let me build up. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on. Bring it. Bring the satanic bands, Kev. I bet half of them I'm like huge fans of.
But you'll have to tell me, Scott, because I have no idea, right? So 10 of the most believably satanic bands, right? Here are the 10 bands whose love of Lucifer feels wholly genuine.
Can I go ahead and take a few guesses before we even scroll down?
Yeah, that'd be quite cool, man. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say immediately off the bat, Behemoth, a band called Behemoth, and I'm going to say Gorgoroth.
Now, which ones are we talking about again?
You have to guess what bands are going to make the list, Joe. What genuinely
are going to make
genuinely
the most satanic, the most genuinely favorably satanic bands.
And it's worldwide, globally.
Yeah, metal bands.
Cannibal Corpse.
They sound like they should be on there.
No. Cannibal Corpse too much of a shtick. It's
think it's too sticky.
We're talking real deal, like bands that actually believe it. I'm gonna go with those two. I'm gonna go with Gorgoroth and Behemoth being on this list.
Definitely say that. Yeah, definitely. I've never heard of Gorgoroth.
And probably Mayhem.
Mayhem will be on. Yeah, they'll be on it.
Okay, let's go, Kev.
Let's do it then. Let's do it. Let's unveil the first one, right? Well, originally rock and roll designation as the devil's music was meant to be an insult, an attempt to stodgy morale authorities to turn the innocent fun of teenagers into something unholy. But as rock bands began taking the title back and claiming they were, in fact, soldiers against Christianity's vaguely defined virtues, they became a new slander, or there came a new slander, calling out false Satanists, who only courted old scratch from the controversial attention that it got them. So, genuine Satanists versus people that were Satan signaling to try and get the devil buck, right? So, that's basically what it is, right? Ones that were just daubing themselves, pretending with the symbols, wearing everything, but really in reality couldn't give a damn.
Remember, and I told you about that, Kev. I said there's a lot of bands that just put out the imagery and all of that stuff in order for the shock value, but they didn't really believe it, you know. But there are a very few hardcore groups of metal bands that really do believe that stuff, you know. And you found a lot of that within the Norwegian black metal scene. And okay, well, let's go. Let's go.
Merciful Fate.
Oh,
you're muted, Joe.
I forgot about Merciful Fate, and
King Diamond,
and King Diamond too. But I wouldn't call them hardcore. I would have called them more so, just like you said, more along the lines of that.
Of course, Merciful. Well, see, King Diamond was the singer for Merciful
King Diamond was never afraid to discuss Satanism's more thoughtful and nuanced side, showing that he was in it for the philosophy rather than just the pageantry, though he certainly enjoyed plenty of that. Most bands bow before the altar of sin. The Fate were high priests of evil.
I dig me some Merciful Fate, though.
Me too.
I'll throw it on.
Midnight? Yeah. Midnight?
Never heard of them.
Never heard of Midnight.
No, Rebirth of Blasphemy? Not heard them. It's not really. Electric Wizard?
No.
I'm a big fan of Electric Wizard.
With smoke drenched.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know, I was contemplating throwing them into the list. Okay, yeah, I can see it.
I like them already. It says they love the Cheech and Chong stuff. And that alone may not make most music bands satanic, but the single-minded nature from which Wizard pursue weed in the midst of dark horror theatrically feels deeply sinful. Dracula smokes weed. The great god Pan lets hits of the bong, let's hits of the bong with him. And not two F's given pursuit of their most desired pleasure make the Stoner Doom crew a truly unholy act. And then we've got Carpathian Forest.
Oh, yeah. These are one of the real hardcore black metal bands.
So probably. They're ticking your boxes so far,
never heard of them.
Okay, so Scott, so far you're going along with Kerrang. They're pretty in the ballpark then.
Kerrang's pretty legit.
Yeah. I remember my cousin, he used to read it all the time. And he was a heavy rocker.
So their list is pretty on point, except for that one band that I've never heard of. So doing good so far. Oh my God, I forgot about
I can't
Deicide.
Yeah, see, I would have cut. They've been around forever too.
Yeah, dude, I completely forgot about.
Deicide. Me too. Yeah, totally. I knew these guys would be in the list all day long.
Glenn Bitton is crazy. He actually burned an upside down cross into his forehead.
What?
Yeah.
The vocalist for Deicide, he branded, like he actually branded an upside down cross into his forehead. He burnt it into his forehead.
Oh, that's not good, man. That's not good.
Yeah. No, it's not good at all.
No, not good at all. Not good at all. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. Deicide definitely deserves to be on this list.
Okay, right then. Twin Temple. Oh,
Never heard of
Look at that already.
Oh, dude. Yeah, look at that. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I never heard of them, but
unholy.
But apparently, if you wear a goat's head
Yeah,
that puts you in that category.
All
right.
Awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Marcia, were you the person that sent me an article about the new particle in CERN the other day? If it was you, and I think it was you, oh, what a rabbit hole you've chucked me down. I was going to do a little stream today about CERN, you know, any of the new stuff, but I tell you what, been learning more about where they're wanting to take things. I'm going to do a full show on it at some point, so I blame you, Marcy, okay? But we scroll down here, we've got Watain.
Yep, I've heard of them. They're another black metal band. So
now,
yeah,
Scott, would you suggest? Now, Scott, here's a question, and it's very, very speculative. I get that, but fill my cam on the web screen.
Oh yeah, just flip that. I posted it.
Flip it.
Because when I look forward,
right.
Just flip it forward.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Now, this music, I would imagine, the people dabbling in the dark stuff would listen to it. But would you say, controversial, I know, could this music lead people into Satanism if they just came across it? Has it got that potential? Not this one band, but music per se. Whoa, we've got another member. Brent. Yes, indeed. Holy shinoly. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so do you think so, Scott? You know how they say computer games can make people do bad things. Can music do that sort of thing, do you think?
I think if you're already a disturbed person, then you latch on to something that where you try to validate your delusions, right? So you'll have somebody that say they want to go, you know, we talk about these kids that go and do bad things at schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually they latch on to something, you know, they're already mentally disturbed. You're dealing with a mentally disturbed individual. And maybe they come across something like this and they latch onto it. But I don't blame the music, because they could have easily have latched on to a movie that they become obsessed with. They could have latched on to politics. Right? You see a lot of these mentally disturbed individuals become obsessed with political movements and become obsessed with political ideology.
And letters of the alphabet.
And letters of the alphabet. Exactly. So it's not so much the art. It's not so much the music itself that leads people down these paths. It's just a tool that they use to try and validate their delusions, right? And I've never... Look, I'm a metalhead. I've been listening to this stuff for a long, long time, you know, and I've never joined some satanic cult. I've never I've went through like phases when I was young, and even then it wasn't even like anything where I'm out here wanting to kill animals and draw pentagrams on them and anything like that.
Don't lie, I heard Everard was teaching you the grimoires.
Oh, well.
That's a different story, isn't it? You have to kill me now, Scott.
You've had, but no, I mean, look, it's a complicated sort of thing, though. But I don't think you can just chalk this up to these bands and just put 100% of the blame on them. Now, I mean, the topics and stuff that they're singing about and that they're talking about, you know, is it right? Well, probably not. I mean, whatever. But
again,
for me,
again, if it's not your thing, I mean, people don't have to listen to it, Scott, right?
Exactly. You can choose not to listen to it.
Well, we've got a topic-related super chat coming in. Thank you very much. Atheism is madness. Love the picture. That's from Signs, right? That's a film with Mel Gibson, is it not? Is it Mel Gibson? Oh, dude. Atheism is madness. Yep.
AC/DC Dio Rob Zombie Marilyn Manson satanic puppet.
Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson. What do you make of Marilyn Manson, dude?
Honestly, like, look, he's not going to be on this list because I really don't. Well, no, I don't consider him heavy metal. He's more shock rock, and even more towards the end of his.
Strange looking puppy, though, right? I mean, look at that. That's a strange looking cat.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a member of the Satanic Church, or he's part of the Satanic Church, and all. I mean, he straight up admits that and everything. But I feel like he has more of a impact on this stuff than, say, some of these more obscure black metal bands that they try, and because he actually started switching his music style from a more kind of hard rock to a more pop sound, right? And he kind of latched on to the whole Hollywood scene.
Yeah,
he hangs out with a lot of Hollywood characters, a lot of Hollywood actors.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's like one of his best friends is Johnny Depp. So he has that sort of connection. You know, he's really not like some heavy metal guy. He's just a really weird, shocking person.
Imagine you met him in a dark alley, dude. You would absolutely shite yourself. Look at that. That looks like, I don't know, dude. It barely looks human to begin with.
And, you know, I used to be a fan of Marilyn Manson. Like, I used to listen to Marilyn Manson, like, way back when I was, like, in middle school. Like high school. And then for me, his music didn't end up doing anything for me later on when he started changing his sound, you know? And so I just was like, you know, whatever, he's doing something different. But I must say, though, he's a very intelligent individual.
Big time.
He is very, very, very smart. He can hold a very philosophical and in-depth conversation that I don't think a lot of people realize, you know. And you go and you look at a lot of interviews he's done and stuff, you know, he's not a stupid character. And
so what about Johnny Depp? Somebody in the chat room, Mammoth, who's going to be coming onto the show very, 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 very soon to talk about archaeology, the Aborigines, things like that, her and her husband. But Johnny Depp, we see the association there. Is he in the temple?
Probably. He seems like that kind of character.
He's a dark kind of character, isn't he?
Yeah,
I like Johnny Depp as an actor, don't get me wrong, and I'm not criticising the guy. Each to their own, but he does seem that way. I mean, you shouldn't judge people by looks, I know, but he seems it. What do you think, Joe? Johnny Depp in the temple.
Marilyn, is that Marilyn Manson or?
Yeah, but there's Johnny Depp. Somebody was asking, is Johnny Depp in it too?
Who cares?
Oh, come on, dude. We're having fun. Stop pitching on the fun, dude. Come on.
It's not. It's just one of those things. Do I think he is? I think that.
I'm not asking you for a testicle. I'm just asking you. Do you think?
No, I think there are people that are in it more for like the name recognition of it, but not really deep into it.
Like what they were saying.
And then there are people that claim that they're into Satanism when in fact they're not. They're into something totally. It's weird. It's kind of like, are you a Baptist or are you Lutheran or are you pagan or I mean, Christianity's got 742 flavors, and you know, so it's kind of hard to. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Let's get on with this list, Kev. You've got me interested. I want to see. Okay. I want to see if you guesses have.
Let's go back to then, man. Let's go back.
So where are we at now?
We were at Watain.
Watain, I don't know who that is.
Coven.
Oh, Coven. Yeah. I've heard of them.
They look more like a kind of ABBA type kind of group going on there, man. Nothing ABBA about them, no?
No.
No, definitely not.
No.
It says, unlike many of the acts on this list, Coven were never satanic to be shocking, and their music doesn't sound like Lucifer grinding Judas between the teeth.
Right.
Coven's exploration of the left-hand path was a scholarly and spiritual one more than anything, to the point where frontman Jinx Dawson is wary of young people meddling with witchcraft improperly. Quote, "They have not really lived it, not really come from it," she told Kerrang in an interview earlier this year. "It is like footprints in the sand. Here went my footprints, and the water washed over it. And then everybody got on the beach. Worship Satan responsibly." Wowzers. Belphegor.
Ah, yes.
What?
I know who Belphegor is.
Wow, look at that one, Kev. Now that.
This is what drives home the power of Austrian blackened death metal act Belphegor.
Charred.
Belphegor. That sounds like a name you would take on in Dungeons and Dragons or something, man.
Belphegor is actually a demon.
Oh, see?
There you go. There you go.
He's got Everard's grimoire tucked under his desk there.
Yes. Belphegor is one of the, was it 72 demons?
Yep. Belphegor.
There's a lot of black metal bands that name themselves after the 72 demons.
What's quite worrying is the fact that Belphegor seems to get quite a lot of mention. Well, not many, actually. Okay, admittedly. Not too many. Right. Next, the Budos, or the Budos band. This guy does not look like a Satanist. He looks soy.
Oh, these guys do not look like Satan. I've never even heard of them.
They don't look like they would be daubing
paint. Satan soy.
Yeah, they don't look like they'd be like painting sheep. They'd be doing something to sheep, but it certainly
Who
wouldn't.
knew? Look at that, dude. It's definitely, it's like...
he plays the sax like
Satan soy.
Hey, apparently, he's a devil on the saxophone. So that's it. There you go. There you go, Scott.
They did not put Behemoth or Gorgoroth on there. I'm very surprised.
That's why you need to start doing your own shtick, man. You know.
Well, admittedly though, it's only 10 bands, and that they would probably need to make like a top 20 or something. It's very interesting.
Pretty cool. Pretty
interesting.
Well, where do you want to take? Oh, we've got that one from you, Joe. The incident at Fort Bragg. This follows on from the kind of topic we're on here, right? Yes, right?
Sorry, man, I lost my mute button for a second. Absolutely it does. Yeah, this kind of goes into it. Now, I guess they're making a movie that's going to tell the true story of a soldier's exorcism, and I think that's pretty interesting. You see a lot more of this stuff being highlighted in Hollywood, and then Netflix is playing a heavy role in that as well. It says here, director Osgood Perkins is slated to direct the new film, An Incident at Fort Bragg, which tells the story of a very real Irish priest, Malachi Martin, that conducted a government-sanctioned exorcism of a young soldier on the North Carolina base. Now, Martin wrote extensively about this, Kev, and was, if you will, the I'd say like the Catholic Church's version of
district attorney.
No, of whistleblower type, like an Edward Snowden.
Right.
So he was like the Catholic Church's Edward Snowden was Malachi Martin, and he was one of the heaviest, most experienced exorcists that the Catholic Church had. Now it goes on to say, while Martin and his career as an exorcist are both entirely real, the incident this movie is based on is much harder to pin down. By now, we all know what it means when the movie says it's based on a true story. More often than not, it means that we're in for a blatant exaggeration or outright fabrication of events surrounding one or two real people with the excuse that the truth wouldn't make for as quite an engaging a movie. Now, while this is true for all genres of film, few are more guilty of departing from evidence-based facts than true stories about the supernatural. From Amityville Horror to the recent slew of Conjuring movies, it usually only takes an internet connection and 10 minutes of Googling to start poking holes in the stories we see on the screen. But that's where the mysterious Fort Bragg incident may set itself apart. Attempts to contact Fort Bragg's religious services representatives and other public affair contacts regarding the possibility that Uncle Sam called in an exorcist for one of his soldiers doesn't produce any noteworthy results. While this is certainly isn't a ringing endorsement, it also doesn't dismiss the idea outright. Martin himself also never mentioned conducting any exorcisms on U.S. military installations, despite writing a number of books on the subject that have drawn both public interest and even the approval of scholarly theologians. Harvard University theologian Harvey Cox, for instance, called Martin's book Hostage to the Devil the most authoritative and convincing look into the world of demonology, published to date. That was back in 1976. Now, just so you know, Malachi Martin, he's passed away. I think he died early 2000s. And a lot of the stuff that he was exposed to was from the 60s on. So a lot of aged content, but very good, and yet still to this day some of the most authoritative sources on this type of content. Goes on to say, Martin is above all serious, a Newsweek review of Hostage to the Devil read at the time. He's not speaking about madness, about illusions, or the irrational, but about the real beyond all reason. He presents exorcism as a titanic clash of wills that threatens the lives, the sanities, even the souls of all attending. Martin, who was ordained in 1954 and worked in the Vatican for 8 years before leaving for America, reportedly conducted or assisted in a series of 11 exorcisms over the span of about a decade. In the U.S., 5 of these exorcisms were discussed in his books at length, but the basis for the upcoming movie, An Exorcism at Fort Bragg, was not among those mentioned. And if Martin really was called in over an incident with a U.S. soldier, it stands to reason that he may have been asked to keep his involvement a secret. The Bragg story was instead relayed to the film's producer, Robert A. Morrow Jr., a longtime friend of Martin's and a former agent of the CIA. At least according to Morrow, a number of outlets that have taken him at his word. Morrow has shown his former CIA identification to journalists in the past, but the agency isn't in the business of confirming these sort of things. The government can train you to do all kinds of things, but for the things that are in the world that we cannot see, they don't train you for that. Morrow said in a Netflix documentary that shares a name with Martin's book, Hostage to the Devil. According to the London Times, Morrow saw the script for the new movie but was unhappy with it, and he says since claimed that he cannot speak to the press regarding the incident because of a contract that he had signed. That suggests that even if the case were true, it likely didn't happen the way the film presents it. Reportedly, Morrow assisted Martin in some exorcism, potentially including the one this movie's based on, and the producers were able to corroborate elements of Morrow's story with another of Martin's close friends, though the second friend claimed only to have been told about the incident by Martin and has no firsthand knowledge of it. Whether Morrow was a CIA agent or not, as he does have a history of making claims that tie the U.S. government to the supernatural, including a story about a possessed Special Forces soldiers exhibiting superhuman strength and speaking in ancient languages. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, they were talking, man.
Wow. There's no evidence to support the idea that a soldier on Fort Bragg needed Martin's help expelling a demon from his body, but to be fair, there's no evidence yet available to prove that it didn't happen either. But when it comes to Hollywood, that's never really mattered anyway. Let's not forget the Blair Witch Project was marketed as a true story as well.
Malachi Martin, I mean, okay.
He's a very heavy figure, man.
Big
very
time,
heavy.
dude. Big time.
Very.
Yeah. Remember the first time I came across him on... It was somebody talking about him on Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah.
I've not watched that Hostage to the Devil. It's on
no,
Netflix.
But I'm about to.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Definitely.
I'm about to.
Definitely going to give that a viewing.
Are you playing the trailer?
Yeah, I'm going to speed it up.
The truth is, whether we like it or not, the devil does exist. He can influence, and he does influence.
Exorcism then is a healing, and it's a very horrid healing, but it does heal. Because inside they're living hell.
Yeah, that looks good.
Anybody who exposes the devil is in danger.
That'll do. Yeah. We'll probably just about not get away with that, but that looks good.
What piqued my attention was that whole special forces soldiers speaking in ancient languages and exhibiting superhuman strength. Now, what the hell is going on there? Here's an interesting question, Kev. We talk about super soldiers, right? We talk about these experiments going on, and
experiments.
Experiments.
Not the ones that Google do with this channel.
Yes. And the
not that one.
The genetically modified soldiers.
Give me 2 seconds, sir.
Now,
give me 2 seconds. I will have that ready for you. Yes.
Now here's an interesting question. You think the military possibly be dabbling in supernatural experimentation?
Oh, absolutely, Scott. Absolutely.
I mean,
let's face it, right? You have to think of your enemy. So if there's a possibility that could be used or weaponized, then you have to have an expectation that we're going to be looking into that as well.
Yeah.
Didn't
Baghdad Bob talk about that too in Iraq? So you had the Syrian guy talk about it.
Syria.
I think in the 90s, Baghdad Bob talked about it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that have talked about these super soldiers, these large super soldiers.
But what I was telling Kev, Joe, is that apart from, say, genetic manipulation and these kind of super soldier programs, do you think the government is all dabbling in natural elements to create super soldiers? And you just read right there in that thing that there was supposedly this special forces soldier exhibiting superhuman strength and speaking in ancient tongues and all of that stuff. And I mean, if you look back at, look at what the bad guys back in the 30s and 40s were doing. They were sending groups out to find ancient artifacts, right? They were trying to dabble into supernatural elements in order to create a super race or a super group of people, and to create super soldiers. So, on top of the whole scientific aspect of everything, genetic manipulation and a lot of these programs, you got to wonder how much of this stuff like that they're dabbling into on the supernatural side, on the spiritual side, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Are they trying to manifest things in order to give themselves an advantage? Makes you wonder.
I would say so.
I think so.
Let's listen to this and let's take a look. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Unfortunately, some member states in the Security Council and the mainstream media continue to defend and support the genetically modified armed Syrian opposition. The genetically modified armed Syrian opposition. Moderate.
Ambassador, you named off a whole list of individuals who you claim are...
Nice people.
Is it just me that wants to absolutely throttle that interviewer at that point and replace her and come up with a question that everyone wants to ask? What the hell did you mean by genetically modified?
People, yeah.
Or intelligence agents from
No, they are Syrian moderate opposition.
Right. Can
Genetically modified.
Are they still in eastern Aleppo?
Yes.
They are still there.
Yes, exactly. And remember, we done the show, Scott, on the Anunnaki ISIS fighters in the desert, or in the green screen room. We couldn't work out if it was green screened or not, but yeah, something weird going on. And then you've got the giant of Kandahar. I know some people pull holes or blow holes in the giant of Kandahar story, Scott. I get that. But there's something weird about that part of the world over there. I heard a story. It was one of the Syrian soldiers talking about 12 or 14, 15 ISIS fighters, Scott. And it was almost like they had something, and this was his own words, supernatural force carrying them along, because they routed a position where there was hundreds of fighters. 12 of them. Barely over a firing team.
Exactly. And you gotta wonder, man. I mean, a lot of the times they attribute to the stuff of like, oh, they're jacked up on drugs. They're like, injecting a bunch of meth or something and then rushing into battle and, exhibiting this superhuman strength or whatever. And okay, maybe that.
Yeah, but it doesn't turn you into Rambo with like precision kind of accuracy, marksman skills, taking on like hundreds of well-trained, well-armed fighters, Scott.
That's what I'm saying. And so there's obviously something more to this. There's obviously some kind of a super soldier program to it. And then you have them describing it as supernatural powers. So does it go even beyond like a super soldier program in terms of science based, or like what we would consider a science based aspect in
Terminator versus supernatural, technological versus supernatural?
What if they're conjuring some kind of entity or demon,
Scott,
or
think
something?
About it, right? Think about what would be attracted to that area. We heard the stories of what was going on in Aleppo and some of these towns that were part of. There's a lot of life force. I'm being very careful here, okay? A lot of life force being spilled out into the desert sands, okay? Now, we know, guys, Joe, you in particular, you taught me this, first off, that these things, they feed off that these things that aren't here, you call them the jinn over there, the smokeless fire. You know, would they not be almost like throwing a pound of steak in and the sharks coming around it? Would it not be like that to them?
I would think so.
Even if you weren't attempting, even if you weren't trying it though, Scott, right? I mean, even if you were just barbaric, you were doing what you were doing, that would still attract them on the spiritual plane. You would still get that.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, if you're engaging in such savagery, like such just brutal killing, and that kind of energy that is around all of that, I mean, just think what would happen if like one of these entities were to attach itself to you and you get this bloodlust of killing just flowing through you, and that's what this entity is like channeling into you. Then you could maybe see how maybe somebody's going to be acting in this supernatural sort of blood frenzied, sort of thing. It makes me think of, remember back in the Vikings, right? They referred to the berserks. Remember the
berserkers,
the berserkers, right? And they were these warriors that just all of a sudden had like this bloodlust, and they couldn't be stopped. It was almost as if something had taken over them, and they
right, exactly, as if they were possessed.
They were. that they were. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking in some of these cases, you're actually seeing like berserkers, but in the modern era, right? And I think it could happen on anyone's side. It could happen on, the opposing forces side. It could happen on our side.
Why do the elites love war so much, Scott? It's a feeding frenzy for their masters, really.
And, and not to take away from the training and stuff that special forces people do, but why do you hear about these events where like 12 special forces guys go in and wipe out like 200, 300, enemy fighters? You just can't chalk all of that up to training. There has to be something extra on top of that I don't think we're able to understand. And I think that they know what's going on, and that, that's why a lot of these groups are so secretive about what really goes on within their little thing. And I think there's a lot more going on that we just don't understand. And it goes back to, why is all of this happening? What is so important about that whole Middle Eastern area?
Well, there's something there, isn't there? There is something there.
Because there has been, it's just thousands of years of conflict over just this small area of the planet. And you look back at the history, you look back at the ancient artifacts, you look back at the ancient civilizations that have been there. And we chalk all of this up to, well, we're just fighting for oil. It's just this geopolitical thing. But I think this conflict going on much, much deeper, and it's a much deeper spiritual battle, and it's a much deeper sort of battle for something. There's something there that the elites want. There's something in the sands out there.
Well, remember the Gulf of Oman? Now, remember it was all kind of cordoned off, Joe, at one point. It was a few years ago. But there was talk of some kind of anomaly, underwater anomaly. And people, again, speculation, lack of information, it leads to speculation. There was talk of stargates, portals. But there definitely does seem to be something really significant over there, Joe. From the pyramids.
Yeah, I was going to say, just look at the pyramid and where it's placed and its significance in the overall history of the planet. I think that you certainly can't discount it.
You see, I think that was
I know
here.
It seems a little.
I
know it seems a little bit generic, I guess you could say, because of the interest and the overall already marketing of the Great Pyramid and stuff. But I got to tell you, man, I think that its significance, we haven't even scratched the surface on it.
There's a reason why world powers want to control that region.
Yep.
And it just goes beyond. It just goes beyond
oil.
Not oil. Yeah, it's not oil.
Right.
You're definitely right there. Now, what it is, folks, can't tell you. And we're not going to tell you any of your ideas are wrong.
No.
Who knows? No. Who honestly knows?
No, it's all speculation. Really, it truly is.
Pretty good stuff, guys. Have you got anything for us, Joe? Anything kicking about? No?
No,
I just want to point out there's some good conversation in the chat going on that I can kind of peek over the top of there with metal bands. But just with metal bands, I saw someone mention Fear Factory, and they're one of my favorite.
Yeah, I like them too.
Yep. Thumbs up on that. Guar. Oh, you remember Guar? Joe.
Guar, a classic. Classic.
Yeah.
For a UK band over there, Silosis. I love them, man. Silosis is a great. I don't even know what to class them in but they're like screamo slant death metal. So good stuff.
All right. Did you not have a crazy story about like women in Japan?
Ah, yes, the old Japan. Okay, guys, get this. Right? So there was a suggestion box over in a Japanese department store.
Link me up. Link me up, bro. Link me up.
Fox News, yeah, I get you. Fox News has this here, and I find this extremely interesting, very, very soy boyish type of thing that went down. But Japanese department store rethinking use of period badges for menstruating employees. Yes, folks, it is exactly what you heard. A department store in Japan is reportedly rethinking a new policy of having female employees wear a badge with a cartoon character.
Let's take a listen. Oh, no, it's headlines.
No,
I thought it was a story. Bummer.
Oh, it's dubbed Miss Period, and that signifies that they're menstruating. The Daimaru department store in Osaka introduced the voluntary badges in October following an employee suggestion. It was never the intention to share the menstruation information with their customers, Daimaru spokesperson Yoko Higuchi told the BBC. Higuchi called the so-called period badges were supposed to create empathy among coworkers,
Point of privilege.
including allowing for longer breaks and extra help.
Point of privilege, please, sir. I just want to point out that this is a bit like sexist because it seems to like leave out men.
Do you bleed?
Sorry?
Do you bleed?
Don't let biology or physical facts get in the way of what I identify as.
Dude. You don't bleed.
We need a badge for the throbbing mangina.
Throbbing mangina, yes. Listen, Joe, listen. It's a thing now. You have to accept it. Stop being so old. Stop being set in your ways.
But I am old.
Stop being so rigidly toxic and just accept that your fellow man. Yes. And it could be somebody you work with that you don't even know, Joe, because they're too scared. They're too scared to declare that they bleed because of people like you. You know? You old-fashioned...
should be afraid because of people like me.
So if I put the badge on, does that mean I can go into the bathroom and change my man pawn?
Go ahead.
Well, depends, Scott. Do you have a choice of bathroom, or do we all just share together? What kind of workplace is this? Are we going all inclusive?
Have you ever been into a female restroom?
Sorry?
Have you ever been into a female restroom?
Not that I can tell you about on air.
Okay, but you don't want to go there and make it a regular occurrence, and I certainly don't want to share with females. Just a thing, sorry, but you ladies are gross.
Next thing, I mean, I was almost expecting Joe to be like, "Girls have cooties."
Close enough.
You know, just as well you don't work in Portland, Joe. They removed all the urinals from the government buildings because no need for that. No need for that in this new world, sir. No. One sits to piss, we all sit to piss. Nice and equal. We do it, man. You're muted up. I'm missing your golden wrath.
Pardon me, I've never seen dirtier stalls for people that sit to pee. I've never seen more issues with that than in the female
on a more
restroom.
serious note, I mean, over here, Joe, and I think it's worldwide, we had one of the sanitary towel companies taking the sign for female. You know, like you've got the two genders, it's got the signs. They took that off because it might offend some people who identify as women, but like you rightly say, can never, will never, doesn't matter how much they imagine or dream. Biology says they will never bleed, like you're saying. But so as not to offend that 0.00001% of the population, they had to take that little symbol off of there. So by that standard, Scott, I really think this should just be a person period. I'm quite offended by Miss. Even though we get our men menstruating in the title, I'm a bit miffed. Yeah. It's one rule for them. One rule for them in their periods, and another rule for us in our testicles, right? Remember I said earlier on I didn't know how to trigger Joe Joseph. Voila.
I'm not triggered.
Oh, you're getting there, Joe. You're getting there. see when you get to the stage of having to take deep breaths and making manly noises before you say something, that's the sound of the trigger being pulled. And that's what this story makes you feel like.
See, Kev, you thought it was going to be the metal that was going to trigger me and Joe, but look, me and Joe were immune to this. We've been used to this. The whole satanic.
Look at the wee badge. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that's a lovely badge. Look at it. Look at that.
Well,
a little Patricia period badge. That's great.
Very nice
Girl,
indeed.
Let's ask the ladies. Do you want to wear a bell around your neck every time you menstruate? Because basically that's what this is like, right?
Yeah, it's like a big glaring badge that says I'm bleeding my ass off right now. Love me.
Or avoid me. Avoid my wrath.
Or avoid me. Or whatever. Yeah, and oh, by the way, I'm a bitch.
That's the 1 week of the month where I don't have to worry about a shoe. And I usually have to watch for a knife coming between my shoulders. Yeah, exactly, dude.
I was about to say, guys, do women really have to wear a badge for us to know that that's that time of the month?
No, but some are kind of able to handle that time of the month with a level of professionalism, and so they would need that badge in order for us to understand that even though they're capable of handling it in a most sensible and professional sort of manner, that we need to know about it anyway. Therefore, I'm putting on this stupid sticker. It's no different than the I voted sticker on Election Tuesday. Who gives a rat's ass?
Well, I'm quite encouraged by is the first Japanese comment.
I took a shit.
But look, even the Japanese are finding it hilarious. Look, I can't tell you what the Japanese is, but that emoji definitely means absolutely hysterical. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter what language that is. That is always going to mean what the hell is going on here.
Hedy Lamar says, "You wouldn't be here without it." Damn, Skippy, we wouldn't be without it. That's right.
Alison King. Alison King. If it would give me longer or more breaks at work, I'd be for it. If it got me more, so would Joe. you hypocrite. You're happy to be one now, Joe. That's not right, you see. You're like one of these metal bands that just wears the pentagram for the gig and then you're out of there. You're just a pretender. Oh, good story, though, to finish. I like that, Joe. I like that.
So what do they do with a guy that identifies as a woman, and then he puts the badge on?
You know what we do? We take a nail bat to him. That's what we do.
Joe didn't even bother with triggered. He's just gone to full fucking violence. That's it.
I think we figured out how to get the berserker entity to inhabit Joe's body.
It doesn't take much. Just a stupid little period sticker. It'll do it just fine.
Oh, dearie me. Dearie. So that's about us out of time, folks.
That's about all we have for today.
I don't know if you're wearing your badge right now or not. If you are, just count to 10 and don't take your man's head off. We're not that bad. But no, we'll be back tomorrow, folks. I'll be back earlier as well, before the main stream, to do our members-only stream. I have no idea where we're going, but it'll be good fun. We'll keep it light. We'll keep it humorous. We'll take a look forward to next week on the Kev Baker Show. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night then.
Tomorrow
Who
night.
knows what we're going to get into tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, it's not another day, it's another world. And it's already December over here now. Can you believe it, guys? Into the month of December. What the hell?
And for those of you who decide, that you're going to go ahead and put on your little period sticker, I just have one thing to say. Well, actually, Duke has one thing to say.
Don't get your panties all in a bunch.
Oh, Scotty Lopez, fantastic. And Leona says, tell him to bend way over while inserting the man pawn. Yes, indeed. We are out here, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great. It's been fun. I hope you've... the pimp jacket lasted the full way, man.
Dude. You must wear a jacket from here on out. That's it. That's the Kev Baker. That's what it is. It's going to be your trademark.
Exactly, Lisa. Nothing to see here. Move along. And as we say in the UK, just keep calm and carry on. We're out here. Oh, hang on. Scott, do you have any of the copyright-free music that you would like me to play us out with today? Anything kicking about, sir?
No, you know what? He was too busy stuffing his face with pizza, that wiener.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? We will reserve the copyright-free satanic metal for tomorrow's intro.
Make it extra special, would you? Add a little spice to it.
Bill O'Connell in the chat room. Negan. Lucille. Oh, Walking Dead, dude. Lucille's got to drink. Absolutely. That's what we all need. We all need our Lucille. Yes, indeed. I know you boys don't watch The Walking Dead. I'm one of these zombie weirdos. What can I say?
I know enough to know who Negan is, and I know who Lucille is. So.
Negan is the man. He's a man's man. He is like the king of toxicity. When I grow up, I want to be Negan. When I get good at podcasting, I'll have the leather jacket. I'll have the baseball bat. We'll be doing it hardcore. What do you think? Yes, indeed. So I'm going to play some music that's undoubtedly going to incur the wrath of Joe, and we'll be back tomorrow. No animal noises tonight. I'm ready to formulate a plan to take over the world. The jacket, man, it gives me delusions of grandeur.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm sitting in a chateau, but then as soon as I come off the stream, I'm going to realise it's just YouTube fire behind me.
That's right.
Twisty. Now we're out of here, folks. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, which gives you plenty scope to play with, I would imagine. Keep looking for the woo, keep the mind open, and remember, don't let the brain turn to black goo.